Alright, everybody. Just getting a little bit set up here. Alright, let me get rid of this stupid thing. Kind of rather strange how this audio system's been working. That thing's been giving me fits trying to straighten it out. So, if we had a bit of an echo come in there, it's something that I'm troubleshooting. I can't figure out what's causing it. I've been playing around with the audio for about the last 5 hours, and I just have not been able to figure out what's going on. And I've got an email letter into the software people to see if they can help me figure out what's going on, because I don't know if it's the computer or the software that I'm using to do the live stream with, but we'll get it figured out. Anyway, talking about intervention and ramifications, and the reason for that is the document dump that I told you folks we were going to be talking about. And the document dump is the court transcript from the Field McConnell hearing that was held on April 30th. This is a hearing where he wanted to get his conditions for house arrest changed. He wanted to be able to use a computer that was not accessible to the internet and a few other things, and the judge said no to the use of a computer and added restrictions that had not been in place until this hearing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to read the transcripts. The problem I'm having is with vMix, I haven't figured out a way to bring the software, or the source material in here without photographing it first and then putting it up, or doing a screen cap like I used to do in OBS. vMix doesn't work the same. I'm still working on the issue to see just what exactly I need to do to be able to scroll through documents like I did in the past. OBS just isn't cooperating with me, so I've dropped the software altogether, and I'm learning how to use this. And for some reason, let's see, let me change this over to 3. Nope. 2. Well, I got Wolfie now. And I'm running into the same mix problem I had before. So let's see if I do 4 on this one. Bring me in at 3. Well, I got Wolfie. Hi, Wolfie. But, you know, that'll be my preferred background now that the national anthem's out of the way. But anyway, let me get over here. So I draw this over to where I can read it. Whoops. And I just messed up. And good evening to everybody that just showed up. Well, I'm glad you finally caught the beginning, although the show is recorded and reprocessed. Why have I got a thing in my hat? Oh, it's a moth. Whew, I gotta take that off. It's hot in here. No air conditioning. It was 96 degrees in Orlando today. And I was out and about trying to get things done to prepare for my special presentation on Tuesday. Starting Tuesday, we are going to have a 3-day on location live stream, and I'm trying to get the logistics worked out about that. I'm going to start working on that tomorrow, and I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to be doing live streams in the meantime. Man, I gotta turn this hat off. I don't know how much charge I've got on the battery. I forgot to plug it in. I hadn't plugged that thing in since last week. It's got a good battery. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go through the transcripts of the hearing that took place on April 30th. And it took Broward County this long to get the transcripts to me. And I'm not sure when things are going to get caught up down there. Because they haven't rescheduled everything. The calendar call hasn't been rescheduled. Nothing's been rescheduled, even for Zoom. So there's a question, I have no idea what anybody is doing. So anyway, we have, let me go down to appearances. Michael J. SATZ, SATS, State Attorney by Michael Spear, Assistant State Attorney. Howard Son, appearing on behalf of the defendant. Kim Bacasio, victim. Cole McConnell, defendant's son. Now, what is not showing up here is Field McConnell. Apparently neither Field nor Cole said a word to this whole thing. And Field McConnell wasn't acknowledged, although there's pictures out there that have Field and Cole together. So I'm not sure how that one worked out. And we go down through, they go, whereupon the following proceedings are held remotely in Brevard County. And he goes, good morning, everyone. We are here in the matter of the state of Florida versus Field McConnell on the defendant's motion to modify bond pre-trial release conditions. And he starts off with a roll call with everybody saying that I guess Mr. McConnell, I said good morning to Mr. McConnell, but Mr. McConnell didn't say anything back. So, anyway. So they went down. And they had some technical difficulties. People weren't hearing each other. And Ms. Bacasio said that everybody can be heard. Okay, now let's see. The court, this is where it gets... Alright, folks, we're conducting this hearing via video conferencing technology. So there's a couple of guide rules I'd like everyone to follow. Please mute your button if you are not talking. Please unmute before you start talking. Please announce who it is that is speaking before you speak, because a court reporter has to take everything down, and so on and so forth. And then we start. Mr. Sohan, I have read your motion. What else would you like to tell me? And Mr. Sohan, Judge, as far as the motion, I've discussed this at length with Mr. Spear. We have gone back and forth. I know he's spoken to Ms. Bacasio. The state did not have any objections to the first three requests, labeled A, B, and C. I've modified the request in paragraph 7D of the motion, forwarded that by email to Mr. Spear. And we've also had conversation about that. The initial request was that my client be allowed to use his son Cole's laptop computer without internet access. We've since modified that, which I think is more reasonable, and his son and Field are both present, to allow Field to use the desktop computer at Cole's home that is password protected. The password would not be given to Field. Either his son or his daughter-in-law would have to enter the password to unlock the computer. They, in return, will remove the wireless adapter preventing any type of wireless internet connection and remove the line allowing no internet access through a direct link to the computer onto the internet. So basically the computer would be strictly a word processing device. Now, I'm going to interject something here. I found this a little bit odd because if the computer is configured according to The Coles, that means they do not have Wi-Fi. They have a computer that has to have an external Wi-Fi adapter or a Cat 5 or Cat 6 connection to go from the computer to the router. Now, this would signify that they've got a fairly old system, because everything nowadays is Wi-Fi. And, even if he is given the passwords of the computer and goes into the computer, unless they disconnect the Wi-Fi access and don't give Field the access to the password for the Wi-Fi network, he can get on the internet. So this is kind of a weak argument on the part of the defense. But, if they're telling the truth, it's an older computer, it's hardwired into a Cat 5 and into the router, then, for some reason there's no Wi-Fi adapter internally in the computer. Sounds like a piece of junk, but I've got computers that are that way, so what can I say? Okay. My reading of the initial order back on March 6th, as well as the initial pretrial order, prohibits my client from having a device with internet access. So, this computer is basically being denied and any internet access being removed. I believe technically he is still in compliance, but obviously I didn't want him to do that without court approval or permission. But basically the computer would be rendered into a word processor with no access to the internet, period. And it goes on and on and on and on, arguing about the computer. And the court comes down. This is where things get interesting. Mr. Spear. Yes, Your Honor. And I would just have to apologize briefly to Mr. San, because I am, after speaking to Ms. Bacasio in the last about 24 hours or so, I've received some new information that I would have to now object to the condition, the modifications to allow Mr. McConnell to have unsupervised phone calls with his wife. Ms. Bacasio has informed me that Mr. McConnell's wife has filed a police report against Ms. Bacasio in Wisconsin that brought up some personal relationship that Ms. Bacasio had years in the past, and dredged that up and had accused her of lying. There is a person by the name of Terry Nemours, Phonetic, who more or less responded to Mrs. Bacasio as well as associates of hers, that he is representing Mr. McConnell's wife and has been sending, for lack of a better word, intimidating emails to Ms. Bacasio, associates of hers, as well as complete strangers. So, just based on that initial information, there is some concern about the conversations that might be happening with Mr. McConnell's wife. So I would apologize to Mr. San. I know I had originally said that I didn't have objection to that. This new information, unfortunately, changes my position. Now, it would seem here that because of interjection into this case by, or intervention, as my title states, by outside parties, has screwed up a request by Phil McConnell. This is where, sometimes your friends or pretend friends can be your worst enemy. And we'll see that unfold here as we go forward. As far as my objection to the computer, I understand the way the order was written stated no access to any device with internet access. However, I feel like more or less it's playing with fire. If this whole situation started over YouTube and emails started all via the internet, If the only purpose of accessing this computer is to write, I don't see any harm or deterrent to Mr. McConnell writing with a pen and paper, as that is the way that, in a way, ensures that no risk to Mrs. Picasio, no threats or chance of Mr. McConnell having any communication, no temptation. So that's my position on all that point. Also, Ms. Picasio has forwarded me some video links and raised her concerns that the initial order that much of the social media, that the YouTube channel be taken down. That much is still up and active. The YouTube channel has changed its name from the Field McConnell Report to The Report. However, there are people still posting videos to that about 3 times a week. I did locate at least one video. I believe there are still that still refer to Miss Picasio by name, and those are still up and viewable to the public. I did also receive from Mrs. Picasio some screenshots from the chat rooms of these videos where I don't know if it's a moderator or someone running that channel has indicated to the viewers that the channel name change is temporary and that the videos referencing Miss Picasio have been placed in private temporarily and will all be coming back when Field returns. Mr. McConnell's Facebook page is still up. Twitter page is still up. I have reviewed those again this morning to verify. In fact, there's even a Twitter post referencing Mrs. Picasio, right near the top of the Twitter page. So based on those still running active and just the concerns I previously raised, that would be the state's position. Thank you, Mr. Spear. Mrs. Picasio, would you like to say something on this motion? Ms. Picasio. Yes, I just found out about it, the other day. Actually, I didn't realize, so I don't have anything prepared. But I would say that, the substance of this crime is Mr. McConnell's failure to follow court orders. So, that's the basis of the crime. It is a violation of court orders, and then he went to jail for that. He violated those orders as well as with 10-day stints of lockdown. Hi, Levi. Okay, moving on. Then, he's out with a pretrial release order. He has yet to comply, Your Honor. And changing the name of a channel and having his entire, tech team ensuring everyone that all his tens of thousands of followers that he will be back, continuing 3 times a week to hold shows mentioning me, inciting violence against me, as inciting an audience against me in Field's name on the same channel that Field has been on to for 13 years, is not in compliance with the court order. Your Honor ordered him to simply take down his social media. He abused a privilege. He doesn't have a right to that. We don't have a right to drive if we get a DUI, for instance. And he's failed to comply even with that court order. But here we go again with him asking for additional rope when no one has complied with the first order of this court. And I feel like they're, snubbing the nose of this authority of the court. And again, let's go back to the basis of this crime is a violation of an injunction, a serious matter. Now we got several violations of your pretrial release order, Your Honor. You were serious. You even asked if someone had claimed that there were third parties that own the channel or something for there be a simple DMCA takedown request. I don't have any evidence that's been done at all because all of these social media accounts are still up. And so I would ask the court that perhaps it should defer on this particular motion until it has been assured that there has been compliance with the first court order that Your Honor gave Mr. McConnell, because it is important to assert the authority of the court and assure that your orders are complied with, because if someone is able to skirt the rule and the law and your orders, then that, would be a dangerous situation for all of us, as it has been for me. So, I think that I would ask Your Honor to defer the ruling until there has been full compliance with your first order and all of the other matters that has been spoken about by Mr. Spear. We had spoken again, and I have no problem with this man walking around the yard or something, but he's got a lot of people in that area who are willing to, do anything for him. He is a cult leader, in my opinion, and that's, people pray to him. People call him the Anointed One. And so I'd like a modicum of compliance with the first court order. So all these people that are helping Phil McConnell out and bragging about him on social media and saying these things about Mr. McConnell and running that YouTube page are actually doing Phil McConnell a great deal more harm, as you will soon see. And this is where it's going to get real interesting. Thank you, Your Honor, for hearing me out. The court, thank you, man. Mr. Sohn, may I respond, Judge? The court, sure, of course. Mr. Sohn, let me please give the court some accurate information because it is getting rather upsetting. My client has done everything in his power and has been complied with this order. He has been in full lockdown for 7 weeks. He has done everything required to do and more. When I went to visit him in his house, he wouldn't even let his foot would not exit the front door with the bracelet for fear he would be in violation. I discussed this with Mr. Spear, and presumably he discussed it with Miss Picasio, because I have not had direct contact with Miss Picasio. Let me first take in order what Mr. Spear mentioned. Terry Nemours, phonetic. Terry Nemours, I don't know. He has interjected himself into this case as a legal expert and authority somehow in the laws in the United States. He has been emailing me indicating that he believes there are certain steps that I should take in representing my client. I basically delete his emails. I did respond to him one time and say, quote, if you bothered to read the court files, you would have some clue as to what is going on in this case. He's telling me what I should do to request discovery. I don't know this man from a hole in the wall, but my client has had no contact with him. I don't know what complaint allegedly my client's wife filed against Mrs. Picasio, but that is what it is. My client did not encourage any type of complaint to be filed. I have been in on the phone calls. For the most part, my client and his wife say, hello, how are you? How are you doing? How's the house? How's the family? So there's been nothing about filing any complaints against Miss Picasio. I told my client's wife when I was got the first email from Mr. Nemours. Do not have any contact with this person. This person seems to want to inject himself into this. I don't know who he is, what his motives are, but please just cut any contact with him. Excuse me. Now, basically, this, if you all remember, this was back when this Nemours person decided that he was going to represent Mrs. McConnell in the case, and this created a little bit of a brouhaha, and so this is what wound up being brought into court. And even though everybody is basically told Mr. Nemours to butt out, like a certain individual from Northwest Minnesota was told to butt out 10 years ago, these people simply can't take no for an answer, and this is what happened. And so everything that happened in this hearing is a direct result of people like Mr. Nemours butting in where they're not wanted and making things worse for Field McConnell in the process. So to deny my client the right to talk to his wife, he doesn't have a phone, he's going to be going through his son Cole's phone. The only difference is I won't be on the call. His son will be on the call. That's a simple request. Secondly, as I explained to Mr. Spear regarding the YouTube channel, his channel was the Field Report. That's what the channel Miss Picasso is referring to. I had contact with the person that runs this channel. Mr. McConnell, Field McConnell does not have access to that. He does not have the login information, nor does have the password, and cannot obviously go online and take any action with respect to that. I spoke to the person that runs the channel. I said to him, this channel should be coming down, and we discussed it at length, and I said, and he said, you know, if we take the channel down, it's going to do is get these people that are right now basically inquiring as to why this was taken down. What's happening with Field? What is Miss Picasso doing regarding with Field? Is she stirring up all these problems? So I told Mr. Spear, if Mrs. Picasso is insistent upon the channel coming down, that's fine. But in our opinion, myself and my client and his son, that's going to bring unwanted attention to Miss Picasso, which is our goal in the beginning, to avoid that. And that's basically, darn flies, that's basically false, because if you look at the channels of the conspiracy nut and his handler, you will see that they are violating the court orders anyway. So it's not going to make any difference what happens with Field McConnell. Okay, and going back to the transcript. My client from jail, again, has from home, has had limited access. He's taken down his email account. He has to rely on other people to try and take down the Facebook and the Twitter accounts. I know his son has been assisting with that. He's done everything he can do with that. I've been on the YouTube channel. I've been Googling this, so on and so forth. If she wants that channel taken down, I can call that person back and have it taken down. If that stirs up a hornet's nest and blah, 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 I can't help that. That's why we didn't do it. The name, his Field's name, was taken off of that at our request. So, I mean, if she wants the court to do that, we'll do that. But this part about my client not complying with the order, he's complied to everything he can possibly do. The order said that he will do. Take all available means to close these accounts. You know, he's precluded from going online. He has to rely on other people. He doesn't have passwords. He doesn't have access codes. He's doing everything he can through his family to shut down what he can shut down. Now, I find this rather curious because everybody in that crowd knows every detail about what's going on with this case. They know damn well that the court has ordered that all these sites be taken down. These people have the power to take these sites down, but they refuse to do it. And because of them, things have gotten worse for Phil McConnell. The conditions under which he is under house arrest got more severe because these people that claim to be friends of Phil McConnell refused to follow the orders of the court. And he is now suffering the consequences of other people's actions, his so-called friends. Now, let me get down here. I'm skipping a little bit because there's a lot of... Everything related to my client took place allegedly back in October or November of last year. This is now almost May. So a lot of things have changed in the last 6 months. He's complied with this order fully. No, he has not. There has not been a single violation. He's done everything he can possibly do. He's limited on his resources. To have a computer that's basically a word processor with no access. I don't know how anyway this affects Ms. Picasso. Well, that's guy's playing dumb. If his client is stupid enough to go online, he's had several weeks to do it. Yes, your client is stupid enough to do that. That computer's been sitting in the house for 7 weeks, so has his son's laptop when he's at home. My client could have accessed it then. He didn't. You sure about that? He's abiding by the court order. He simply wants to write personal notes, so to defer his doesn't make any sense. He's trying to get a personal little freedom. It's not endangering anybody. He's trying to keep his insanity. Well, he doesn't have that to begin with, in my opinion. He's trying to keep his sanity so this case doesn't... So when this case finally gets further down the road, he doesn't lose any sanity or competency. Well, they could make it not sane to stand trial. That wouldn't be in his favor, so you ought to bring that defense up. So they play the coronavirus card down through here. And they basically argue more or less about the YouTube channel. And he claims that there's nothing about her on there. Well, he needs to go back and look again at Timmy's handler's account, and he would see what's been going on there. Even as much as today, there's been stuff on there that's in violation of the order. So these people aren't complying with shit. Anything from the state? No, Your Honor. All right. Mr. San, I am at least a little bit troubled, or perhaps more so, regarding these social media issues that have been brought up at this hearing. They were not noticed for this time, but they've been brought up, I think, as context. So what I'm going to ask is that you talk to Mr. Spear. Mr. Spear, you obviously get Ms. Picasso involved, and all of you see if you can resolve the issues of compliance or non-compliance with the original orders of this court. And Mr. Spear, if you'd like to file a motion on any of this, certainly feel free. Send it to Mr. San. Mr. San can respond, and I'll have another hearing just on that issue. It wasn't noticed for today, but everyone seems to be fairly aware of all the circumstances. See if all of you can resolve these amongst yourselves first. If not, then bring them back to me, but I am prepared to rule on the motion that was set for today. I want to thank all of you for your arguments, and I want to thank you for your papers. I want to thank Mr. San for bringing these issues to my attention under these circumstances in which we find ourselves. At this time, with the full consumption of court activities still undetermined and perhaps even at this stage undeterminable, I am going to grant the motion in part and deny the motion in part. I will grant the request in paragraph 7b, 7c. Concerning 7b, I will add an additional condition that Mr. McConnell not interact with people outside the property lines. I don't know if that's going to be an issue, but I'll just add in that in anyway. Not interact with anyone outside the property lines while he is walking around the yard or doing whatever he needs to do to get a little sunshine. In connection with Section C, I will add the additional requirement that Mr. McConnell is riding around, he not interact with anyone outside the car. Go on a ride, go on a drive. It's beautiful out there most of the time, but I'm going to require as a condition that you not interact with anyone outside the car. You take the car ride for the purpose for which it is intended. I am also going to deny the request in 7A and 7B, and of course all those other conditions of Mr. McConnell's original pretrial request release. God, I'm bad tonight. Shall remain the same. Mr. San, if you can prepare an order to that effect for me, what I will, Judge. I just have one more clarification because. Go ahead. I don't want to belabor it, but you said you were denying D. If the computer has no internet access, if the wireless remote access, I can't technically, the term that allows it to access the internet remotely or by cable is removed, and technically Mr. McConnell is in compliance because he's in possession of a device that has no internet access. So that's where I'm confused. That's why I wanted the court to clarify, because if the computer can access the internet, then clearly he's in violation. If he can't, then he's not. The court. That's what I'm concerned about, Mr. San. I don't know enough about Mr. McConnell's internet capabilities or the capabilities of the equipment. I don't know how easy it is to disengage or take away internet accessibility, and how or not it is to get it back. So what I'm going to ask is Mr. McConnell to do what I frequently do when I need to take notes. I get out a piece of paper and a pencil and I scribble them down until such time as Mr. San. I understand, Job, but what I'm saying, his son is on the call. His son is, I have had as much contact with his son as I have had with Field, even more while Field was in jail. His son is removing the wireless connector adapter. His son is removing the cord. He is going to lock those somewhere where Field has no access to those. That's like a little kid. You got to lock him out of the cookie jar. His son, Field cannot leave the house to buy another one. And if he's insane enough to somehow get access to the internet and send an email, no, one, I'm not an expert in technology, but I know every computer has an IP address, and that can be traced directly to that computer. So he's basically going to put himself back in the Broward County Jail if he sends an email. I mean, that's something he has resisted for in the past. If he had an inclination to do it, he'd been sitting there with that computer and a laptop and a desktop for 7 weeks. He has not made any effort to do it. Why would he do that now? Answer, because he's an idiot. So, back to the transcript. And again, he knows the consequences. You've got a Broward County jail that's releasing inmates because of the coronavirus. He'd be putting himself right back in that jail. So that's my only question. Is the court saying he still cannot access that computer even if there's no access, period? The court, yes. And I thank you for your insistence, but yes. The reason is I don't see the additional incidental benefit of having things cannot be clearly heard recorded and having things recording on a cannot be clearly heard. I don't know what the incidental benefit of that would be in comparison to the incidental detriment of somehow he could figure out a way to get online. I don't know. I'm just saying to keep Mr. McConnell for the pendency of this case until we come up to a resolution, trying to keep Mr. McConnell away from whatever device electronic communications could possibly be dealt with. That's all. Mr. San, I understand. I'll prepare an order. I will email it out to you. The court, and I genuinely decided to do. Appreciate your insistence. Mr. San, okay. And like I say, if there's something that Mr. Spear hears from Miss Picasio's regarding some social media outlet that Mr. McConnell has control over that is not being taken down, as I have said from day one when we left court, I told Mr. Spear and Miss Picasio and the detective, let me know. The court, I understand. Mr. San, I even emailed Mr. Spear and Detective Ratowski soon after his release saying that this is what we've done and whatever else you find that we need to do, let me know. And I've heard nothing until now. So, I don't mind being blindsided, but I don't want to make it appear as if we are not complying because there's been full compliance with this order and I don't want the court to get any impression otherwise. There's been full compliance. The court. But, in fact, that's why I said that was not noticed for today. If, in fact, I ask you that you talk about it now, that it's been raised. Mr. San, quarter. The court. If you come to a resolution, which I hope you will, but you are unable to come a solution, one or another of you can bring it to my attention. We'll have a hearing on that, but I'm not. Mr. Son, I will prepare the order this morning and email it to Mr. Spear to review before we send it to your chambers. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Judge. The court. I want to thank everybody, blah, 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 blah. And then that's basically the whole thing. But the gist of it is that because of the actions of Mr. McConnell's so-called friends on the internet in regards to the Facebook account being run by the Conspiracy Nuts handler, this Conspiracy Nut himself, and 2 or 3 people closely associated with the Conspiracy Nut, along with Mr. Nemours getting himself involved with Mr. McConnell's wife, they have actually made things worse for Field McConnell. He has additional restrictions brought against him by the court because people can't understand that everything that goes on in regards to Mr. McConnell's social media connections are being monitored. And they any violation is being constantly brought to the attention of those in charge of this case. The detective that investigates the case, the prosecution, and the judge. And this is, and these people have known about what happened in that court since it happened. And from May 1st on, they have been in violation, and things have gotten a lot worse. And I have been assured that every single solitary thing that's being posted on the internet about Kim Picasio is being presented to the prosecution. And this is going to result in things getting worse for Field McConnell, because this is proof that Field McConnell can't control these people. That Field McConnell can't even get the guy that set up the account for the Field Report to take it down. Eager Beaver refuses to take that account down. And until he takes it down, he is making life miserable for Field McConnell, because it's going to be that much easier for every day that thing stays up for Kim Picasio to argue for stricter restrictions against Field McConnell. And that's precisely what's going to happen in the next hearing. That once things start up again, the hammer's going to come down, and the court is going to have more severe restrictions against Field McConnell, because he cannot control his website. I would never, ever put myself in a position where one of my social media accounts was under the control of someone who would not take it down if I requested it be taken down, or I was put in a position where the court told me the channel had to be taken down. Because I don't want my life being under the control of outside parties. But this is exactly the situation that Field McConnell has put himself in. He has found himself in control by outside handlers, and they control his fate. Field McConnell is the leader in nothing. He's nothing more than a paper tiger. He's a straw man. He's a figurehead. He's got people running the show for him, and without these people, Field McConnell would not be where he is today. And because of these people, Mr. McConnell is finding himself in a worse position today. And the thing with Goodbyes, he's just adding to the mix, because that channel is being monitored. That information will be brought to the prosecution, and they say, look, these people are sidestepping. They're doing things that the court has told Mr. McConnell he can't do. And that's going to weigh against Field McConnell, because Mr. McConnell's attorney could call Dr. Goodbyes and tell him to shut the hell up and to leave Field alone. And if Dr. Goodbyes can't do that, then he's just going to make things worse for Field McConnell. But these people don't think. You got people running around coming up with these defense funds and stuff, and they may not be in entirely solid legal grounds to be doing that. There's no legal charity set up. There's no 501 clauses that have been filed. There's no auditing in place to determine where the money's going to go once these funds are raised. And there's no auditing of the fact that the money will even get to the legal defense. That would have to be, Mr. San would have to show publicly that he got whatever funds had been raised by the people setting up these different fundraising sites and so forth. When you run around and you start doing fundraisers on the behalf of somebody else, you have to show where this money is, where it's going, and how it's going to get there. And I have seen nothing in the records to indicate that this has been done. This is, you have to file this stuff with the federal government, that you are running a fundraising effort on behalf of somebody else. They have to know where this money is. Otherwise it's money laundering, because nobody knows where all this money's going. And this is why, PayPal and Patreon and all these other companies are looking at this situation to see what kind of legal situation they're going to find themselves in if the judge becomes aware of these fundraisers and wants to know what the hell is going on. Now, nobody can stop Mr. Goodvice from having a show. But if he starts to get into this business of being an advocate for Field McConnell and does it to the extent where the court sees a violation, there may be more instructions imposed on Field McConnell. And this may include that he is no longer able to contact his wife by phone, monitored or not, because it's been brought to the attention of the authorities that Field McConnell speaks in code, and that he would be able to relay messages to his wife, who in turn could relay these messages on to the great doctor and to people that are handling both Field McConnell and the conspiracy nut from Minnesota, and possibly even to Mr. Nemours. So, this is a classic example of how people sometimes get into a situation where they can't even control their own fate. That the people they put in charge don't follow orders, go off on a tangent, and ruin things. This is precisely what happened to me back when I had my stream. My moderators and my administrator went down a road that I did not give them permission to put down, and when I told them to stop it, they didn't stop it, and I had to shut everything down because these people wouldn't follow orders. I didn't like people coming on my show and talking about whether or not kids were lying about being molested. I said that's an intolerable situation and I'm not going to stand for on my show. And Field McConnell is now finding himself in the same situation. These people are running around violating the court order through a third party against Ms. Picasio. And this makes it a more precarious situation for Field McConnell. He may find himself with more charges. He may find himself with more severe penalties. And if he is adjudicated guilty, and this gets into the sentencing phase, this could make it to where Field McConnell gets a more severe penalty than he otherwise could, because it can be shown to the court that Mr. McConnell cannot control his behavior, that he is under the thumb of cult followers who will not obey the orders of the court. And so the court may decide, well, maybe he needs to be in for the maximum sentence in order for people to be taught that you just don't screw with the court. And so that is the end of my little presentation on Field McConnell and his transcript. And sorry if I've been ignoring the chat, but when I do these readings, I like to concentrate on what I'm doing. Well, the judge is being told about everybody. There's information that gets brought into the court almost on an hourly basis. Every post that's put up, every video that's put up by the conspiracy nut and his handler are sent directly to the court. Now remember, this happened the 30th of April. This is now the 22nd of May. So this is 22 days. Additional violations have been out there that have happened. And I guarantee you, when things start to catch up, now that the state of Florida is opening everything back up, including the courts, a lot of information is going to come out. And Field McConnell's going to find that his friends have screwed him over bad. It's taken Broward County 22 days or more to get this transcript up on the internet and into my hands. I had inside information about what happened at this hearing, but I couldn't go that farther into detail because I didn't have the documentation to back up what I was saying. But now the document's out there, I'm free to comment on it. But yeah, it's just, I don't care one way or another. I mean, if these people want to sink the Titanic, Field McConnell, they're more than welcome to do so. You know, because like Field McConnell, I cannot control these people. They're going to do what they damn well please. And if it makes the situation worse for Field McConnell, then that's just too darn bad. These people don't seem to care. They want to show how important they are by this continuous barging in to the case. And Mr. McConnell is going to suffer the consequences. And right now, on the court calendar, nothing has changed. They have not taken down the calendar call that was for the 7th, and nothing has been rescheduled. So Broward County is way behind on their record keeping. So, I don't know, guys. Oh, everybody must be preparing for the weekend tonight. I hope everybody has a good Memorial Day weekend, by the way. But oh my God. Well, I'm glad that I'm a chick magnet. I never thought I'd see the day. I gotta go back up through the chat. There's no press like good press, so I'll take all the compliments I can get. I get enough bad compliments, so appreciate it. Well, the time that Field will be facing won't come about until or if he is adjudicated guilty. Then they do kind of like a, I can't think of the term right off, but they do like a study to determine what factors will go into the sentencing. This recommendation is sent to the judge, and then he makes his own decision. But there's a point system that's in there. There's aggravating circumstances that are taken into consideration. And this is why what everybody's doing that they think is helping Field McConnell is actually going to hurt him in the end, because everything that's being done now on the internet is going to come up in the sentencing phase if it gets that far. And this stuff could even be brought before the jury. And the jury's going to see that this guy created a monster that nobody can control, and that Mr. McConnell is a danger to society because he can't control his cult, and if he gets out, the things are going to go back to what they were before the court order was issued. So it's going to be a situation where he is going to literally have to have the book thrown at him in order to drive home the fact that he's got to obey the law. And so you know, and stuff is coming out now. Miko, however you pronounce that, is basically taking over what I was doing, because I'm basically not making any headway, and because of my haters, there's enough in the background of false information on the internet that can be fought against me. So I need, so it's better just to let somebody take it over that doesn't have to worry as much about the false information about them getting out, because they can better combat it. Tim Holmseth has been after me for 10 years. He's had plenty of time to get his propaganda machine well-oiled. And so I have basically a well-oiled propaganda machine against me. Kim has the same against her and others that are involved in this gaslighting and internet smear campaign that's been going on all this time. And it seems like every time we turn around, there's somebody else added to the mix. I think I've seen about 3 or 4 new people come in that have been accused in one way, shape, or another of being a pedophile. And part of this trafficking ring and selling and all this stuff. And I've talked about it before, but it's beating a dead horse. Nobody that follows these individuals is interested in the truth. Point of fact. Well, I've been in touch with the Pentagon. I have my own sources, and they're aware of this. And they assured me. They said, no, there's no such thing as the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. You know yourself how these things work. And I told the guy, I said, yeah, but I just needed confirmation because, you got a guy with hundreds, if not thousands of people that believe this thing exists. And he says, well, it doesn't. And he has a security clearance that could tell me yes, no, or maybe. And there is no Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, but you're not going to get these people to believe it. You got people that believe that a guy that got killed in an airplane crash is 50-some years old living out west, and that he's going to be running with Donald Trump in place of Mike Pence. So what are you going to do? These people believe in some of the dumbest things I've ever seen on the internet. Well, I don't know if Jessica's right or wrong or maybe, but I think in her case, this is where the system is right and Jessica is wrong. The woman shows up with a car full of knives at a highly secure location and calls herself the coronavirus. She goes over to the White House and tries to get in to see Donald Trump. This girl's weird. Tom, they've had a bunch of calls to the Pentagon about this organization, and they've got them frequently enough that they're getting annoyed, and they're going to clamp down. So the calls are having an effect. These people are under investigation. They just don't know. They just either don't know it or don't believe it. And the only reason stuff hasn't been done now is because the coronavirus has got everybody sidetracked. They had to kind of shuffle the stuff over in the low priority cabinet for now, but it's going to climb up to where it's the first thing on the desk to take care of. And that's when the stuff is going to hit the fan. So. Yeah, she's definitely screwed up. But they all are. These people, the conspiracy nut has a habit of being able to draw in some of the craziest people on the planet. You go through and look at the people he's got following him, the vast majority of them are nuts. So, I've gotten to the point where, I'm not going to get that much involved unless something significant comes up. I'm going to avoid as much as I can mentioning his name and some of the others because he thrives on attention. He loves having his name out there, even if it's in a negative light, because then he can come back and say, well, look what, I'm the victim. Look at what he's saying about me. Look at the background of this guy, fake or not. The things he claims are false about him, He's a master of propaganda. The guy could have gone out and gotten a job at that sort of thing because he's damn good at it. He's the most prolific liar on the internet. Sabrina, I don't know if you're talking about Cynthia Absug or the one in Kentucky. Adsug is still in prison. They haven't scheduled anything yet as far as I know. I don't know what's happening to the girl in Kentucky. Whether she's out, in, or in between. So, but, you know, that's just weird. Yeah, I just had something come my way. I'm clearing it. So, information on my itinerary when I do my live stream next week. That would have been yesterday. This is the 22nd. So she's already had her court date if it happened yesterday. And I didn't know what the situation was in Denver as to what they're doing about the virus. So I would have to check the court records to see if anything's been posted. I have a feeling they probably delayed everything, and the situation is the same as it is in Broward County. They just haven't got around to getting it posted on their website so everybody knows what's going on. Okay, I get it. The May 26th is for the lawsuit against Lee and the other parties. So that'll be interesting to see how that's going to work. Yeah, it's coming along a person at a time. We got plenty of time though, because I would like to have had it to the 1,000 mark for Monday or for Mondays. I'm going to make an announcement about that here shortly as to what my schedule is going to be. The actual event that's causing this live stream, I'm going to be talking about probably Sunday. But I'm going to get into the exact schedule of what's going to happen starting Tuesday. There'll be, a general chat tomorrow night. Sunday I'll be on, and Sunday I'll get into a little bit as to what the schedule is going to be next week. But as for the specifics, that will be announced Monday. I don't know if I'm going to do a live stream announcing it or I'll make a recorded video, but as to why I'm doing the marathon live stream will be announced on Monday. I don't know how many of you people are going to be interested in what I'm doing or why I'm doing it actually, but at least you're going to see something a little bit different than just talking about conspiracy nuts all night. Yeah, it's hard to say what's going on with Preacher Dan. That guy's like a conspiracy nut. He just doesn't seem to worry about anything. He just plows right along. I think it's because he doesn't have 2 cents to rub together. And the only thing that's going to happen is he's going to lose his little enterprise. So that ought to be interesting to see how that one turns out. Because he seems to think because of what these other idiots are doing, he's going to be able to get away with it. And he's going to be in for a rude awakening. Because it's a whole different dynamic in their case. Oh, alright, I'm in the wrong. But, you know, other than that little blip that we had with the, alright, where'd it go? With the court papers finally being released, there really isn't a whole heck of a lot going on. Because of Memorial Day weekend, I think everybody's finally gotten off the internet. The last idiotic thing that came up was 4 hours ago. And it's once again redoing old audio. And once again, this has nothing to do with Kim. This is just idiocy on the part of Tim. No, that basically is my opinion. Yeah, I cannot say for certain that these people are witting or unwitting agents of a federal or a foreign government, but the possibility is there because foreign governments are infiltrating the Q movement. And people like Tim Holmseth, see, I mentioned his name. I ought to start a dollar jar. Every time I do that, I put $1 in it. Don't know what I'm going to do with $1, but it'll be in there. But there are indications that foreign agents are infiltrating these kind of websites, feeding them this information that gets put out there. You know, people are putting out propaganda that is generated by foreign countries. I've seen examples of it several times, and I've backtraced it to Russian sources. So technically, they are at a minimum unwitting pawns in a chess game. That they're being used, they don't know or don't care. And I don't know if they would be actively working with the foreign governments, but on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised. But, you know, I just leave it at that it is my opinion that there is outside forces influencing their actions, and leave it at that. Sabrina, yeah, I said that the best place to complain about these grifters, these charity drives, and everything that's going on is with the Federal Trade Commission, because they are one of the lead agencies that investigates consumer fraud. It goes to the FTC first, the FTC looks at it, then they call in the FBI and all the other agencies to say, look, we got a problem here. And so the amount of money that's starting to float around now is getting much higher and much more public. so that maybe these agencies, if you keep pestering them, will finally investigate and do something about it. Because that eventually is what's going to happen. The complaints are going to get to the point where these people are going to say, we got to do something. You know, this is a point I made way back when, that if enough complaints are sent to these agencies and the proof is sent to these agencies, they will have to act. Because it's just, you know, we're getting into the thousands of dollars being raised on these legal defense funds. And if these people are not following the letter of the law when it comes to record keeping and filing the legal paperwork necessary, they can be charged with money laundering and wire fraud. So, okay, I'm going to get into a little bit of what my itinerary is going to be. Now, my mobile portion of the live stream is going to start on Tuesday, but because I do not have the numbers on YouTube as of now, the mobile live streaming is probably going to be on Twitter through my Periscope account. It will be recorded and then uploaded to YouTube when I arrive at my destination sometime around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. I will then live stream on location on Tuesday for a while, just like I'm doing now. On the 27th, I will be doing a combination of live streaming on YouTube if I go mobile, which I will decide once I get to the destination. If I go mobile, it will again be on Twitter, and the recorded portion of the live stream on the 27th will be uploaded to this channel. And then I will again live stream from the destination. I will be live streaming from a hotel or motel. And then the 28th, depending on how things turn out on the 27th, I will be doing other activities to where I will be live tweeting, live streaming to Twitter, posting to Twitter and to Facebook, and then the recorded portions of the activities of that day will be put up on the internet, onto YouTube. And my return to Apopka, depending on how the equipment holds up, will be live streamed mobilely to Twitter, recorded, and put up on YouTube when I reach here. Now, I doubt on the 28th that I will be doing a live stream from here, because because of the intense schedule I have, and depending on how things go, I'm going to be pretty tired. But we will see how things work out, because I got to get some things worked out as to what the events are that I am covering on those 3 days are going to work out. If there's any changes in their schedule and how things go from the initial beginning of the event until a point to where I cover it from here instead of from over there. So we'll see how that goes. But the details about exactly why I'm going where I'm going, I will announce again on Monday. You know, some of you might guess what's going on, but for those of you who have not guessed, it's something you might be interested in tuning turning in for. It's kind of one of these things that it's a significant event, and we'll see how it goes. But, you know, Monday you're going to find out what all this is about. Hey, Mish. I apologize if I have not been following the chat all that much. I've been, basically trying to make eye contact with you guys virtually. I get called out at sometimes staring off into the oblivion. But in order to read the chat, I gotta go over here. So, Eager Beaver donated $100. Well, that's not gonna help things, because that'll be that information will be presented to the court. Because Eager Beaver is the one that's supposed to be taking that channel down. And if he's not going to take it down, he's just making it worse for Field. So. Well, of course he is. I expect he'll probably whine again like he always does. I mean, I've got 8 people on here, and yet these people just... What are you going to do? It's funny. But they're going to be in for a big surprise, because Tuesday, I'm not going to be talking about these people. I'm going to be on a completely different subject. And they have no idea what I'm going to be talking about. It has nothing to do with Q or any conspiracy theories. This is about something that goes back to my original intent for these channels. Here we go. Just like he's as predictable as milk. Mert prank call again. He's regurgitating. He's mad because I'm talking to 8 people on the internet. See, he's put up repeat number 1, repeat number 2. Yeah. And I'm trying to avoid mentioning this idiot's name, but, what are you going to do? I wonder what he's going to talk about Tuesday. That's going to be interesting to see. Because I'm not going to be talking about this clown Tuesday. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to be talking to him much at all for quite a while, unless he does something boneheaded that deserves attention. But reposting the same crap about me, that's not going to... So what? It just shows he doesn't have anything, because if he keeps recycling the same material over and over and over and over again, people are going to say, well, is that all you got? There's nothing new here. I mean, Jesus. So, what the hell. But, and the thing of it is, a whole bunch of stuff's going to start happening next week. Now, I mentioned a little bit before, but one thing that's going to start happening is something that I'm calling Project 10. And this again is going to be something completely different. And it's going to be, because of the situation with YouTube, it's going to be live streamed to Twitter. And then it's going to be, recorded version is going to be put up on YouTube. But I'm gradually getting the channel focused on what I originally intended it to be focused on, and that is things that have absolutely nothing to do with conspiracy idiots, Q, or any of this other bull crap. I've allowed myself to get trapped on this subject, and I'm moving away from it to some degree. And I'm hoping that what I do is of interest to you guys. But it's not going to be political. Mish, no, I did not know. I have not been paying attention to what's been going on with that channel. The only reason I brought it up tonight is because it's in the court documents that I got from the, that it finally got put up on the court website and was brought to my attention. So, and that's well, website, channel, whatever the hell. I mean, again, this is stuff that Field McConnell has no control over. These people are running around doing this stuff without Field's permission, and they're going to make situation worse for Field by doing so. Well, I'm glad. It sounds interesting. But if some of you people had listened to my broadcasts a few, over the past few times I've been on the air, you might have an idea of what I'm moving into. But I'm basically going to start expanding what I talk about on this channel and to try and get back to what I normally would be talking about on here. I have a Twitter account. It's Murt360, and I was going to start the YouTube channel Murt360, and the topics that I would be discussing over there is entirely different than what I'm discussing here. But what I'm going to do for the time being is I will be doing, you'll start seeing different things go up as to where it will be from the desk of Mert Witness 1 Live, a Mert 360 presentation. And when you see that, you know that it's going to be something that has absolutely nothing to do with tin hat, conspiracy nuts, politics, Q, fake government organizations, and so forth. It's going to be a completely different subject matter. And I don't know what criticism these people would come up with for what I'm going to be talking about, but I'm sure they'll figure something out. But that's fine. But it's quite... But from what I can see from the Conspiracy Nuts social media account, they are not happy that I'm reporting on Field McConnell. Let me see something here. Yeah, he's put up material generated by a known pedophile, so he supports the actions of pedophiles. And the proof is right on his Facebook page that this conspiracy nut supports pedophiles. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one himself, because likes attract, as he said in his book. So, no, it is not sport. Well, it's not professional sports. Technically, what I'm going to be talking about, some of the things could be considered a sport, but it's not a competitive sport. It's more of a recreational sport. But you could say that some of the things we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about stuff that's recreational. We're going to be talking about stuff that's technology-based. We're going to be talking about stuff that mainly has to do with the state of Florida. I intended to write about and show the state of Florida. And I got away from that because of this nonsense, and now I'm going to get back into it. The conspiracy nut that I am trying to keep mentioning his name because I don't feel he deserves the attention, has put up on his Facebook account as of 11 minutes ago 2 items that were generated by a known pedophile. He was made aware 5 years ago that the individual that is the source of this material is a known pedophile, but he continues to use the material generated by the known pedophile. So this can only lead me to believe that he supports pedophiles because he is willing to take material generated by them as fact. And he condones their illegal conduct, such as making unauthorized phone calls, illegally recording phone calls in a two-party state, and so on. No, we are not going to go gambling. Now, there's a possibility. I haven't checked on things because of the corona situation. There may be a place that I go to that is technically a gambling site. But you're going to understand that it's not entirely for the reason of gambling. It's basically to take advantage of something, to kind of show a little bit of some of the things that goes on down here. And if you tune in on Monday, I will get into the details of my itinerary, what I plan to be doing while I am on location, and what I am going to attempt to do while on location. Because it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that I'll be doing on location coverage of various events. Monday, I will get into what those events are going to be and what's going to take place depending on how the events unfold over the next 3 days. But it's what I'm going to be doing, and I consider it interesting. It's interesting to me. It's something that I've been involved in some form for almost 15 years. Actually longer than that, more like, let's see, started in 86, so it's anywhere from about 85, 86 on. And so it's that aspect. It's going to be technology I'm going to get into, which I briefly discussed on the prior show, where I talk about computers and technology, which is the reason that Mert 360 is named Mert 360, has to do with technology. And that channel, rather than being a separate channel for the time being, is going to be integrated here. So there's going to be a fundamental change in the way things are done here as far as subject matter. And what I will not be talking about next week is anything that has to do with true crime, conspiracy theories, or anything like that. It's a completely different subject matter. No politics. None of that. This is, you guys, from reading, you guys haven't any idea. Now, I might get into animal rescue at some point, but this is not what's going on next week. This is something entirely different. No, I don't know what the 386 would be, but I know it's going to be Mert 360. And you will understand what the 360 is about when I talk about this on Monday. Well, the prosecution is monitoring the social media accounts that have any remote connection to Field McConnell, including the conspiracy theorist that keeps posting on Facebook. And so that, it's just increasing the amount of damage that is done to. Oh yeah, we'll be talking about 386s, 286s, and 64s, 128s, T100, all kinds of stuff. But that's the technology end of it. So I'm probably going to bore half the people in here to tears, because I do have an extensive technology background. And as I had talked about, and one of the things I'm going to be talking about is all kinds of older technology, be it computers, cameras, all kinds of stuff. I'm expanding a little bit. Try to get a multitude of different people. And the Project 10 that I hope to get going by the 1st of the month falls into that category. It's kind of sort of technology based because I'm going to be using technology in relation to this project. And so we'll see how it goes. Well, you're on target, Golden Mare, as to what I'm doing. I will be going to do stuff that could be considered tourist activities. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday technically is not a tourist activity, although under different circumstances it would be. But it's a important news event that I will be covering starting Tuesday. Yep, I know all about the Biss is suing an internet cow. Right up his alley, but technically he's going to have a little bit of a problem because he can't do anything outside the state of Virginia. And that case is heading down the road of being thrown out. Because they've got different attorneys that are handling the California part of the Nunes situation. What Biss does is he does what they call straw man lawsuits against social media sources. So, I was sued by that lawyer, by the tin hat conspiracy nut retained Mr. Biss, tried to sue me and Kim Pacasio, and the lawsuit got thrown out. And I'm out about $5,000 because of that little mess. So, that's another thing that he cost me because he just won't stay out of my business. This conspiracy nut has no conscience. Absolutely none. He doesn't care whose life he destroys for his own gratification. I think he gets on. I think the conspiracy nut gets off destroying people's lives. He just doesn't care about anybody but himself. And it's funny. He argues his defense is that he's never met Kim Pacasio, but he's never met me either. His contact with me has been not 1/100th as it has been with her. And yet he does all this stuff against me. So he's probably the world's, if not the world's biggest liar, he's the world's biggest hypocrite. But, it is what it is. But, I'm gradually moving on. He's becoming less and less important every day. I mean, if the most he does is just regenerate old propaganda, false narratives, then, he's getting desperate. And he's not worth talking about. Well, Nunes doesn't care. Nunes just wants the attention. Nunes knows the law. He knows he's not going anywhere. But look at he generates all this publicity. He's just like Tin Hat. He's got people paying attention to him, and he's got those kind of people in California that support him. So his political strategy is if he plays up against the cow and stuff like this, then maybe he'll get reelected. So we'll see what happens when the election in his case comes up. So there's no sensible reason for it. Nunez knows that this represents a certain spectrum of the right wing against people like me or Twitter. And so he is known for suing bloggers. That is the alleged. I don't know what Nunez is. He's just, he pisses everybody off on both sides of the political spectrum. He's not that popular. So. All right. Okay. On the 28th of May at 10 a.m., there's going to be another bond hearing for Cynthia Abzug. And then on July 9th, there's going to be a preliminary hearing for Cynthia Abzug. So things are moving forward. So we're going to find out on the 28th, which is the day I get back, what's going on with Ms. Abzug. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Because I think she's trying to get her bond reduced. So, she was both trying to get her bond reduced. She was trying to get out using the coronavirus to her advantage, even though she had said it's a hoax, and that got thrown out. So I doubt much is going to happen bond-wise with her. Well, if Q is military intelligence, fine. But, number one, I think there's people that are part of the Q movement, like Tim Holmseth, that have no idea what it is. And the problem is, until mainstream Qs start disavowing people like Tim Holmseth, I just cannot support them. That's, I have an opinion. But I'm not that interested in Q. I'm more interested in frauds like the conspiracy nut, Field McConnell, and some of these other people taking advantage of people that do believe in Q. Well, I have no negative opinion of Craig Sawyer. I don't know where anybody got that idea from. Again, I am not wanting to get that deeply into the Q Anon movement or Q whatever it is. I'm simply not interested in that subject. My focus is mainly on Field McConnell, the conspiracy nut, and all the frauds out there that have attached themselves to the Q movement. So, I'm trying to limit it to that. If people want to believe that Q is real and all this other stuff, I have no problem with that. And this is why, Q needs to crack down on people like Tim Holmseth and these others because it's distorting their movement. If he's trying to make a point, it's being distorted by people like Tim and these other idiots that don't know what they're talking about. So. Hey, Gray Moon, welcome to the chat. Oh, man. Well, I'm not trying to censor Q at all. I mean, I would prefer that, this is not supposed to be a political channel. It's supposed to be a channel about exposing the frauds. But, I try to do my opinions on Facebook and Twitter and keep them off this channel. Because it's topic specific on here. And the topic format of this channel is going to broaden to cover other subjects, and I'm getting away from QAnon, trials, tin hats, conspiracy theories, and so forth, and going into a completely different subject area, and only talking about cases like Field McConnell's that's happening here in Florida, and ABSUG because it's attached to Field McConnell and the other frauds. And the same is going for the lawsuit in Ohio and the case in Kentucky because of the attachments to Field McConnell. And it's just the court proceedings. Well, I'm trying to move away from the deep state and this and that and the other thing because frankly I'm not interested in it, at least not on this area. Anything I discuss about that will be on Twitter or Facebook and not broadcast on my YouTube channel. And as of Tuesday, I'm going to be going into a completely different subject matter that is going to have nothing that I am aware of to do with politics. Well, you don't even have to use Pacer. You can use the local places. I don't have access to Pacer because it costs money. So I use funds. I use accounts that don't cost money. And that is, I go directly to the clerk of the court in whatever jurisdiction the trial is being held. And I get my information there. I get my information from people that live in the area of these various jurisdictions, people I know that are in the system, so to speak. And, I have my sources for getting information. So I don't necessarily have to use Pacer. Pacer does offer some resources, but I just can't afford to pay for it. So I have to use other channels of information. Well, politics is one of these things you get into, Moon, to where you're going to be in perpetual arguments because you believe in one thing and somebody else believes in something else, and you're not going to convince each other to change, so you're basically just beating a dead horse, and it turns into a pissing match. So I just rather avoid it. I'll keep my opinions to myself as much as I can on this channel and go elsewhere if I feel like commenting on something that's going on politically. Thank you, Patriotic. I appreciate the comment. I try to be the best I can. Ugh. Hmm. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the suggesting just me. I just want. Uh, I'm not in this for any money, and I know that because of times that people are having a rough time getting through this economically. So you know, I want to make sure people cover their families and their personal situations first before doing anything else. Because right now there's not much I can do as far as traveling anywhere. That may change. Because I wouldn't go to Denver for the preliminary hearings. The actual trial, I might try to go to. And again, if I can get up to 1,000, then I can do mobile live streaming from on location up there. Because it looks like the ABSUG situation would start up sometime in July or August. As far as going to a jury trial. Now, I don't know if they're going to hold that one in federal or state court. If it's held in state court, then I might be able to work something out with the media representatives of the court. If it's federal, then no, I'm not going to be able to. I'll have to report during breaks and afterward what happens in that case. Oh, let's try and keep calm, people. Don't be getting. No, let's not start any cat fights. An hour and 57 minutes. I'm probably going to close down in about 3 or 4 more minutes, because that's one of the reasons I started early, because there's things I need to do when I log off here. I'm on a schedule. I'm expecting some stuff to come about here in the next hour or so I got to get prepared for that. So I'm probably about another 2 or 3 minutes. I think I'm going to close this down. We're coming up on 2 hours. Yeah, there's you can argue with each other and still remain friends as long as you observe decorum, so to speak. Because I know that probably 95% of the people that subscribe to this channel don't agree with me at all. And some people like Bubba, they're so angry with me at my positions politically that they won't even come in here, and so on and so forth. So it's unfortunate that the things that we have in common are divided because of things that we do not have in common. I get along with people no matter what they believe in, as long as we tolerate each other. And but the only thing you can do is just move on, and hopefully people will quit being so damn mad at each other, and we can find things to be friends about. And that's one of the things I'm going to try and do Tuesday, is to bring subjects into the mix that aren't quite so controversial. I know people have a habit of making things controversial no matter what they are, but I'm hoping what I'm going to be doing Tuesday through Thursday is going to be somewhat different than that. As far as I know, I don't know what's happened with the bond that he paid Northwest Liberty. I know he supports her position as it relates to CPS. But I think he is also angry at Field McConnell and that group because they got her all screwed up. So I haven't been paying attention to Northwest Liberty to know exactly what's been going on since she went back to Colorado. I only heard about the latest development when it was on the local news channel that she had tried to use the coronavirus to get out. And the court said, no, that's not going to happen. She made herself a flight risk with that stunt she pulled, so I don't think the bond issue is going to be successful. It might be, but I don't know. It's going to depend on if she's got a competent attorney representing her or what's going on with that. Well, see, the ABSUG, there has to be some accounting for what she did. I mean, she did do basically what Tim Holmseth did. There was some preliminary evidence that she was involved in the attempted kidnapping of her child. Now, whether, of course, she's innocent until proven guilty. It has to go through the legal process to see exactly what's going to happen to her. Because of the unusual, if she were to turn state's evidence and come up with something that would prosecute the people that assisted her in this little tour that she went on, then she might get a reduced sentence, maybe probation. But she has to offer something to the court that would make the consideration be there. Some exculpatory thing. You see, I believe that regardless, if ABSUG had a legitimate complaint against CPS, there's a better way to handle it than getting involved in these screwballs. I personally have nothing against the ABSUG situation other than she exercised extremely bad judgment when she got involved with this group. Now, maybe the stress of the situation, desperation, forced her to do what she felt she had to do. But it was a bad thing to do, and she's going to pay for it, whether she's justified in being punished or not. But again, this all has to go through the system to see if there's some miracle that comes along that gets her out of this situation. Patriotic, I don't profess to know the answers, and I have personally gone through the Casey Anthony trial. I watched the Zimmerman trial. We have the OJ trial, and I just got through watching a series on Netflix called Trial by Media, And the bulk of those cases, justice was not done, in the opinion of a lot of people. That because of the right circumstances, people got away with things they should not have gotten away with. And, so anything can happen. You just can't, you can't use a normal modus operandi and say, okay, this person's automatically going to go to jail or this person's automatically going to get acquitted, because it's to the point where you just don't know until the end of the situation what's going to happen. And the crystal ball or subjective analysis doesn't work anymore. Yeah, that's correct. Bail is an insurance policy. It's supposed to make sure that you have an incentive to come back to court and be there. It's not meant to punish you or anything like that. You're only out the 10 or 20% that you pay the bail bondsman if you can't afford to put it down on your own. If the bail is low enough to, like, somebody has a $600 cash bond, they might be able to take $500 out of their savings account and pay the bond. They get that back if they're acquitted, and so forth. Well, I'm not sure, if that's the case. I think she might stand a better chance of being released in Colorado. But because of the nature of the crime and the jurisdiction there, they may not want her out. But that's, again, this coronavirus is basically throwing everything we know out the window. You don't know what's going to happen. Because people are getting released left and right because of the corona situation. So that, who knows? She might get released. And as long as she stays in the jurisdiction and follows the rules of the court, she'll be fine. Chad, what it is it's a temporary situation. The children are not permanently removed, if you believe the story. The child was placed in temporary custody of a foster parent until the situation with her is resolved. And if you take the children forcefully from the guardian ad litem, which a foster parent is, then technically you're kidnapping the child. At the very least, you are interfering with the custody of a child. Now, the argument is that CPS is overstepping their authority and that technically ABSUG is right. But there's a right way and a wrong way of fighting CPS. And the right way would have been to get someone, a lawyer, that is an expert in that law, to advocate for her with CPS instead of going to Field McConnell and these other clowns and get herself in a situation that is far worse than she would have been if she had done the former. It is said that these people spent $5,000 to $10,000 on this little sightseeing trip that they put Cynthia Ebsug on. That money could have been used to get her an expert lawyer in the state of Colorado that knows the system in Colorado that could have gotten her children back. That's what I'm arguing here, is she got herself screwed by these people. She became a victim of scammers. I'm not here to pass judgment on her position as it comes to her fight with CPS. I'm here to say that, because of circumstances where she got herself involved with Field McConnell and Kirk Pendergrass and these other people, that she finds herself in jail right now. It's, you have to work within the system. And if you can't do it on your own, then you hire somebody that can do it for you. Now we're getting into politics again. Ugh. Now, why would anybody go to Russia? That's, I don't know. See, I don't want to get into the politics of CPS. I want to get into the legal. Basically all I'm doing is a step-by-step here. I don't, whatever happens to ABSUG happens to ABSUG. The only reason I'm even following this case is because of the connection to Field McConnell and this other group. And as I stated earlier, if she turns state's evidence to testify against Field and these other people, she might get herself in a better position to get her child back. Because she's going to be able to show the court that she understands that she got into a situation she should not have. She was influenced by these grifters, and now she's showing the court that these people need to be prosecuted, and it may help her get her children back much sooner. And at the base, she'd actually stand a better chance of getting her children back. Well, yeah, I don't know why they would think they'd be better off in Russia, but that's what people seem to be doing. But Russia is a sworn enemy of this country, and so if you're going over to Russia, you're basically a traitor to the United States. People don't seem to understand that Russia hates this country. They would like to see this country become a communist state, a Russian state. It's as simple as that. She never got the child. It was attempted. She never got anywhere near the child. If we're talking about ABSUG. Oh. Yeah, apparently in the Sweden case, apparently they took the child. I don't know if it was forcibly, but, I need to look at the message board more. Let me rearrange here so I can see this. This over here. Okay. All right, everybody. I am going to call it a night. I appreciate everybody coming in. I would appreciate it if anybody that has not done so, like and subscribe this channel, hit the notification bell, because next week I'm hoping to offer something that would be a little bit more interesting than talking about the conspiracy nut and some of this stuff that we're getting into now with ABSUG, because I'm only interested in doing the blow-by-blow of what's going to happen with her over the next few months, and not so much if she was right or wrong when it comes to getting involved with CPS, whether she deserved to have her child taken or not. That's not specifically what I'm arguing about. I'm just arguing the progress of the case. That's all I usually do when I cover these things, is just go through the step-by-step of what's going on from one minute to the next with these cases and reporting when there's an outcome, if there is one. And so, again, I'll be on here tomorrow, so I can we'll probably get into the same discussion about what the heck is going on in the world. Monday, I'll get into the specifics of what's going to happen next week. Well, yeah, there is a belief the end times is a conflict between us and the other superpowers, Russia, China, North Korea, so on and so forth. And if it happens, it happens, because World War III will be the shortest war in history, and there won't be anybody left. This Earth will be turned into a burned out cinder. Well, it looks like the trial situation is going to be starting up, at least out of state, fairly soon. And until Broward County gets their record keeping in order, we're not going to know what the hell's going on down there. I'll have to keep poking away at my contacts down there to see if I can get some new information. But next week, starting Monday, we're going down a different road for a while. And hopefully there'll be enough interest. But tomorrow and possibly Sunday, I will be doing Murtathons. At least 2 hours, sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a little longer, depending on how things go with the flow of information. And then Monday, I'll figure out either through recorded videos or a Murtathon to explain exactly what's going to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And possibly Friday. So, until then, folks, this is William Murtathon, Murt Witness 1. Y'all have a good one. Have a good Memorial Day weekend. Or, have a good weekend. Be safe. Don't catch the bug. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, let me go get before I close out, let me go get Amber so she can say goodbye. Oh, be right back. Hello, Amber. Okay, here's Amber. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Blah. All right. Hey. There you are. Say hi. Blup, blup. Yes. She be Amber Wolf. See Whoopi? Say hi, Whoopi. Arf, arf. Yeah, old Amber Meter. I guess we got to go through at least one night where Amber shows up on the air. So anyway. All right, Amber. You go. Yeah. Okay, everybody. With that, once again, This is William K. Murtaugh, Witness 1. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow night. Probably either 9 or 10 o'clock. I'll let you know on Twitter and through notifications when I will be on and if there will be anything specific I talk about. Boy, everybody can call me Chrome Dome. Got a red head. Alright, good night all.